one story out there, I'll let you go to this, where Trump is suing big tech, right, for imposing illegal, unconstitutional government censorship.
Yeah.
And it's a big story. Then you have, on the Biden side, right, they say they're going after big tech and stuff, and, which is kind of funny when you think about it, since, they suppressed, I think, all the leading conservative sites for them, which is cool. But we're going to go after tech, and, we all know how much money they spent on that election to support them, which is fine. But when you're looking at one thing first is from, he's suing him for illegal, unconstitutional government censorship, which is kind of a joke, because I think people have to realize that this is a free country, supposed to be a free country. So when you go outside your home, you can say whatever you want, right? You could be a KK member, burn a national flag in front of it, be a racist. That's your freedom of speech. It's hard, but that's freedom of speech. But when you're at a company, you don't have freedom of speech anymore, right? You have to abide by the rules. I mean, if you don't think so, if you're in your office, stand up and try saying something that, hey, men should be paid more than women because they're superior. Try saying that in your work environment, you'll get fired in 1 second. You don't have freedom of speech when you're under that corporate umbrella. It's always the problem I had with dealing in the NFL. The NFL pays these players. They own them. They could say, hey, stop kneeling or we're not going to pay you. But, using that platform, someone else's platform for your agenda, whether you agree with it or not, was just kind of funny to me. But, whatever. The bigger point here is the moral issue. Because when you're suing big tech or you want to go after big tech, the more these announcements come down, you say it all the time, right? With Facebook and everything else and the Justice Department. I mean, the more you see this, the more what? Yeah,
this is a layup. I mean, these are, in order for so these companies are they're very well-run companies. They're very profitable companies. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about Facebook, Twitter, and Google. Mm-hmm. I mean, margins are huge. Cash flows are amazing. Growth is amazing. I don't have all the numbers right in front of me, but I mean, and look at the stock charts. They're doing well. I think maybe Twitter isn't at a 52-week high, but I believe the other two are, or damn close. I just think, so we were playing and having fun with this about the morality of this, but you can't beat them, join them is something that's funny. A lot of people, getting back to the tobacco real quick, a lot of people don't want to invest in tobacco stocks. They don't want to have exposure to marijuana stocks. Some even take it further. And hey, you're allowed to do whatever you want, in my opinion. I'm not going to sit here and say you're silly or stupid or whatever. But I remember when I was starting out in the brokerage business, a lot of people didn't want to own fast food companies. They didn't want to own tobacco companies. Okay, I get you. It's very hard to buy mutual funds and not have any exposure and to guarantee that you don't have exposure to that. But anyway, so if you're buying Facebook, you're okay with banning certain people over political comments and or beliefs or whatever. And I'm not here to say that's good or bad. I'm simply saying that if you're selling these stocks because you're worried about government intervention and or breaking them up, I think that's a huge mistake, because there's one side of the political aisle versus the other side. And if you think that big tech is in bed with the current administration and you think they're going to crack down on them, I just think that's a real stretch. And I would take the other side of that bet. And look at Facebook, Twitter, and Google. Their charts are amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you've said that, you're buying those stocks, but that's the thing. It's, if you really think that this is going to, the big tech companies are going to be broken up, you should be buying them like crazy. I mean, they're going to be worth so much more individual when you break up a company. That's called sum of parts value. Usually when people talk sum of parts, you should sell the stock right away, because no one talks sum of parts.
Well, like as you say, when that's your lead in.
When that's your lead in, that means nothing else is working with the company. The business model sucks. Management sucks. There's nothing else to talk about. But you say, hey, if we really break up the company and do this, then this could happen. Just sell the stock. It's the best thing. But I mean, sell side firms. What did Richard Gere say in Pretty Woman? He bought his dad's company, was the first company he bought it, and he broke it up into little pieces and sold every one of them. And sold it. Yeah. Yep, I remember that. Yeah. Sergio Roberts. But
I fired him and I took it over, I broke it up and built it or sold it off into pieces. So yeah, if that's your lead in, that's a negative. But
getting back to the moral argument, you have to realize this. You are investors. You want the best for your family. You want to make the most money. And I'm not telling you to do the wrong thing here, but our job is to bring you ideas that can make you money, and ideas across all spectrums, like psychedelic stocks are now, there's not too many publicly traded stocks, but wow, I mean, the research coming out of that is pretty amazing. Big banks, right? I told you, we did a whole segment on this, I think probably like 3-4 weeks ago, saying this might be the most powerful sector I know from a risk adjusted basis. It's a no brainer. You have low interest rates. These guys have all this money. The only thing they can do is buy back their stock or raise their dividends. And you're seeing a perfect storm where GDP is growing, household wealth is growing, more money entering the system, more loans, interest rates low. It's a perfect system, perfect storm for these guys. They're bigger than ever. They have tons of cash in the balance sheet, which they're forced to keep on the balance sheet from, crazy freaking restrictions. And, sure. And what's the worst case scenario? Say we have a massive recession. What's the government going to do? We know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to throw money at it, just like threw money at COVID, just like threw money. Yeah, they're not seeing the negative impacts from throwing trillions into the market. All they're seeing is, hey, we're padding our pockets and everybody's happy. Stocks are going higher. People are getting richer and we're happy. There's a massive divide between the rich and the poor. It's getting wider and wider, but even during the credit crisis, same thing. Hey, let's just, backstop all the banks and everything's fine. So you're going to see that come on a risk-adjusted basis. It's banks. Look at big tech, what we say. Well, they're stealing all of our information. We all know it. They're using AI to predict our future. They know everything about us. A lot of these things you don't even know about. Most people don't. They think they do. They don't. Try reading. There's a reason why websites all the time, Daniel, update their terms of service of agreement.
Yeah, the tracking.
It pops up all the time. You know what? Just they should highlight the changes in that, because that's basically saying, okay, here's another way that we could track. There's another way it's going to track. Another way we're going to sell the information. So you see that on so many websites where it's almost like you have to click here just to view it, and you just click it because you want to see the story, right? So you just click it, and that's the okay. But it's like those marijuana stocks you brought up, also gambling stocks. Mm-hmm. I mean, these things are getting approved. Look, if you don't want to buy them, you don't buy them. That's fine. But right now in this investment environment, there's room for you to make a lot of money on new trends, on things that are going on. And some of that requires you, buying some stocks that are, vice stocks or things you don't agree with. But you have to check that at the door. You do. Again, for me, I recommended marijuana, but tobacco companies. And my dad died of lung cancer, because that's my job, is to make you guys money, right? I don't agree with it. I know they lied to everybody. They got fined tremendously, but they pay good dividends. And, one time or another, I thought the stock was a great buy. So, yeah, you have to put those feelings aside sometimes, because if you don't, somebody else is going to make a ton of money off of it. And that's what they're doing, even on Wall Street, which my opening was about. But the whole moral argument, Daniel, I mean, you bring up a really good point.
Yeah, we'll get into more of that as things unfold here. But we're not telling you to go against anything that you believe in. We're just kind of saying, hey, from our perspective, and there's certain stocks. I mean, it's not tobacco or gambling or anything like that, but I mean, everybody has a line that you would draw in the sand. Everybody is getting political. There's a lot of divisiveness out there right now in culture and everything. The pendulum will continue to swing one way, and then it goes back and forth.